Rishikesh, Madhuvairy.
Rice University.
What's the Rice tuition like?
76.5K annually.
Shit, okay. Yeah.
Alright, graduate journey.
Episode 1.
This is a season. It's a season now.
It's a season.
That's crazy, bro. We have
Rishikesh, Madhuvairy.
Rice University.
From Greenwood High?
Some serial intro.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a senior at Greenwood High. I'm going to Rice University for Material Science and Nano Engineering, possibly with a double major in Electrical and Computer Engineering. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Rice, did you apply RD or ED to whatever?
I applied ED too.
So binding,
Yeah,
you have to.
I have to honor them, yeah.
Yeah, what's the Rice tuition like that?
76.5K annually, yeah.
Shit, okay.
Yeah, because I'm totally loaded. Yeah.
What's it? Did you get a scholarship or what's it?
No, it's just I have a saving scheme, so I was able to afford it from the get-go.
Oh, great, okay.
So what are we talking about in terms of at the beginning of this application cycle, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
ED is a decision that takes a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
So what about Rice is it that chose you
Yeah,
to commit?
why'd you choose it, yeah?
So coming here was actually a very complicated process. My dream school was Stanford, and I spent my silver bullet on that. I applied REA, single choice early action, back in November, and that didn't work out. And at that time, my dilemma was between Stanford and UPenn, whether I should REA to Stanford or ED to UPenn. UPenn has this dual degree program called Jerome Fisher Management and Technology, highly prestigious, and it was very conducive to what I wanted to do in life. I always wanted to be at the intersection of business and engineering, and that was what that entire dual degree program was about. But then I realized that I didn't want to have any regrets in the future. So yeah, I spent that silver bullet on Stanford. That didn't work out. So then I had a limited choice after that. And then I thought to myself, there was a certain loophole in my strategy where I was looking for colleges that were very academically rigorous, that were demanding a lot from their students, but at the same time had consistently fared well in maintaining their prestige. And while that's all extremely important, it's a two-way ratio where you need to find a college that's the best fit for you, and you need to find a college where you're definitely an apt fit for them. So at that time, I was definitely lacking in my research. And I was just going by what the populace had told me, which was apply to all of these top shot, just completely crapshoot all the colleges. But then I realized, hey, I haven't done any research on Rice. It seems to be a really small college, completely elite, has less than 4,500 undergrads on campus. Let me research some of the deets. So then I saw that everything in Rice, from the academic vibe to the work hard, play hard mindset, to the residential college lifestyle, to even the surrounding opportunities in energy and biotech, which is what I want to do in Houston. All of those things, it felt like home for me. And I felt like I, as a person, would thrive in that environment, which is why ultimately I chose to ED there instead of keeping my Rice application in the RD cycle. And ultimately those choices, you never know how accurate they are until the future when you reap the rewards of what you put in. But it's just hindsight 2020 at the end of the day. You stick with the choice and no regrets in the future.
Okay. So just dialing back a little bit though, I mean, we'll go deeper into Rice in a bit. But what was it like dealing with getting rejected from Stanford REA? And do you feel like you were able to kind of get everything back going pretty quickly, or was it like a pretty big weight to you? Or what was that process like, dealing with that and then eventually applying to your second cycle pretty much?
So I think in the first cycle, I was already well aware that Stanford was going to be a total long shot. I didn't have any high expectations for myself. I wasn't very ambitious. I had done a lot over the 4 years prior, so I thought that to some degree I'd be a good fit for whatever requirements they had. So the whole idea behind applying there was just so that I wouldn't feel bad about not doing it. It wasn't because I had some sort of expectation that I'd get in. So that's the same reason why that morning when I checked my rejection, I was like, oh, you know what, this is kind of natural, isn't it? So it was very easy for me to recoup and recover after that, because I knew I still had Cornell, UPenn, and all of these really top regular decision colleges that I was still awaiting my decisions from. But at that point in time, I remember thinking that I should have had better decision making. I think my strategy was very haphazard in the sense that I didn't really follow the norm in the sense of creating a long list and then a short list, which colleges are ABET accredited, which ones have scholarships. I didn't do any of that. I just went with my gut. So at the end of the day, I was just trying to think to myself, what is the best way in which I can hedge my bets such that I still settle for an extremely decent option without compromising on other verticals of the college application experience. I didn't want to spend a lot of time writing essays for Yale or Harvard or Johns Hopkins, but at the same time, I didn't want to settle for a college like UIUC, which according to me is out in the boonies. You have no activity there except for cornfields, right? So I really wanted to zero in on an option that I knew was somewhere in the middle, but also still had that clout and still had like that level of rigor that people want.
So speaking of, I think I want to delve deeper into that sort of prestige aspect of this entire process. During the process, it's really tough for most students, what I see, to ground themselves and really take the time to take a step back like you did and understand, okay, is this a good fit for me? Why is this a good fit for me? Reason number 1, 2, and 3, and not pay attention to the name at all, right? So do you think, how would you say you'd navigate those sort of challenges in an environment where, it's a rat race to get to the top college?
So to answer that, I definitely agree with you to begin with, that there's definitely a lot of external societal pressure where a lot of parents these days are also goading their kids to apply to the Ivy League. And honestly, while the Ivy League has its own merits, I feel like given that every student is unique, the first step that they have to take towards realizing actual benefits in the college experience is acknowledging that maybe a college that is prestigious overall does not have what they're going for. We all set bargains for ourselves. We all have certain goals that we want to meet in our careers. And the mistake that many people make that I'd like to call out now is that they think college is a destination, where if I get into a college like Duke, that's it. My life ends over there. And they don't really have this sort of long-term thinking approach where they plan what their next steps are. But for me, it was more like, Houston is the capital of energy and biotech in the country, most deregulated energy industry there is in the United States. I've always been interested in semiconductors and silicon science. So I've always wanted to be at the center of that. So all of these other peripheral things, which people really they take for granted. They say, oh, if I go to Wharton, I'm anyway going to have that.
My career will just work.
Yeah, my career will I'll get the serendipity basically. Yeah. But what they don't realize is once you get into college, how much you make of that ecosystem is the effort that you put in. And this is very similar to like what's happening in IITs over here. So I have so many friends who prepared for JEE and stuff, and all of their parents have told them IIT is the end goal. Once you get there, once you get an AIR2, once you secure that aura around you, life is over. Right? Yeah. But it's really the opposite of that. So the first step to realizing that you're built for a different place is calling out that mistake intrinsically, which a lot of people fail to do.
Yeah, and I think for a couple of idiots like us who have constantly been hearing about so-and-so cousin that got into the Ivy League, this university, that university, that's pretty cool to hear.
Yeah.
It's definitely not about what other people are doing. Everybody has a path paved for them. Everybody has a place in the industry, and for people who want to really go big, like I'm a startup guy, I really want to get into nanomedicine. So for somebody who wants to be avant-garde, who wants to be at the edge of everything, continuously churning out new products, putting themselves out there, taking risks, you don't have to abide by the norm at all. And I think even though Rice is still a very sort of elite college in the sense that it's very similar to Ivy Leagues, I wanted to go there because it fits me as a person, it fits my character, not because of its prestige.
But overall, I think before we move to another segment, or just talking about other stuff, are you happy with Rice? Or do you still have that residual feeling of I wish I got a Cornell or UPenn or something like that?
I think after Stanford rejection, when I was debating between a Rice ED and keeping it in the RD cycle, I was thinking, man, this could be the one opportunity that I get to get into a college like UPenn. Now I'll never know if I got in because I withdrew my applications. But looking back on everything that's happened these last few months, I couldn't be happier. This is definitely the college for me, and I haven't even been there, so I'm thrilled.
For sure. Okay.
Let's talk about academics.
Okay.
You're a school topper.
Yeah, no.
No.
Hell no.
Bro, are you dumb?
Yeah, bro, you don't associate me with school topper, bro. I'm not those 9 A stars guy. I'm not gonna go onto the stage and lecture a bunch of juniors about how you get 9 or 9 A stars. I don't know what that feels like.
Is there a reason for that? Or are you
I mean, it was mainly because of IGCSE. Like, I'm one of the IB toppers. There's a difference between IB and IG for sure. IG is like, bro, it's some headache, bro. Like, dude, I see people mugging AdMath past papers, mugging the mark schemes. Like, we had this culture back when we were writing our boards, which was like, you would go through several data-based questions, mug the mark schemes, and you know exactly that that's going to come in the Greenwood exams.
Yeah.
So you get full in those. And there was this one guy in our grade who used to do that like perfectly.
Like religiously.
Yeah, religiously he'd do that.
Yeah.
They'd scrape that 93 in comp and then 95 in chem. I mean, I ended up getting the same grades without doing any of that. I still remember like playing Minecraft like 3 weeks before boards when we had our study holiday. And the whole reason was I was never really invested in IG. I was never interested in the way that learning thing happens. Honestly, it just seems like a more hyped up version of ICSE to me. You know, people say, oh, you should jump from ICSE to IGCSE. The jump, there is nothing to unlearn, bro. The real jump is from IG to IB. I remember coming to IB, having to unlearn absolutely everything. You must have experienced
So
that
what
too.
does that mean for you? Like, what do you take to be true learning?
So to differentiate the two,
True learning. Go on.
Okay, so I'll tell you what true learning is. Okay, so you have mug the mark schemes, do past papers for 3 hours every day. I don't even know, bro. Like just basically everything along that thing, right? Then you come to IB. It is solely based on a critical thinking approach. So you could get things in a math paper 3 or a chem DBQ that you've never seen before in your life, that you've never studied before in a textbook. And if you learn IB the way you learn IGCSE, you'll have absolutely no damn idea what to do. And then you look at the paper, you're sitting there, you're saying, Jai Shri Krishna, please help me write this paper. And nothing
Hey, we're
works.
secular, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Jesus, Allah, Mubarak. Yeah, nothing is working in this paper. What am I going to do? The whole idea behind IB is I'm sitting in IB with my mark scheme and I'm looking at the camera and I'm teaching people how to ace, how to get a level 7 in chem.
Not everybody's on the internet as much.
Bro, shit,
This is
my
some
bad,
like
bro.
clinical doom scrolling.
Nah, bro.
I
Bro,
think what IB does well is,
Yeah.
for me,
Lock in.
specifically, right? Learning wise, like I've always been just a guy who follows whatever he's interested in. Like if I'm interested, it's the same way like a third grader would obsess over Pokemon cards or something.
Right.
If you're interested in a specific subject,
Not just
right,
third grader, bro.
you like following.
what, you still do Pokemon cards?
If you're interested in a subject like that, right? What IB helps you do is fall down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Studying for marks in that sense is it's very tough.
Yes.
But I still think if you do IB correctly, it's 100% a good way to explore a subject. But there definitely is a way to jugaad your way through IB and still get a 45. Like,
There is, but it depends on what your priorities are. If your priority is a 45,
Yeah.
then yeah, absolutely.
You
There
can
are
100%
so
do
many
that.
loopholes you can
Right.
exploit. But for
like
if you're,
I would honestly say like take physics for me, right? I take physics at Chal. I'm not very passionate about physics or anything like that. Like I'm not gonna spend my time like researching it or something like that. I've gotten 7s throughout, right? Just because I know how to use the textbook,
Right.
And to reference IB docs and stuff like that or past papers, which is essentially what IGCSE teaches you,
Right.
So I think from the exam perspective, it could be like that difference is definitely there. But I don't think it's ever significant enough to say like, oh, if you're like an A star in IGCSE, you're going to be like a 4 in physics or something like that.
Right.
It's very minor, but I think what it does show more is just in terms of stuff like the EE and the IA, not even from a grade perspective, but just like, dude, having to work on that stuff like continuously, like you have to be interested, bro.
Yeah.
I tried to do an English EE just because I heard it's easy. Bro, I can't read Othello for that long, bro. Right.
No, absolutely,
So-
bro. See, the thing about IB is what you gain from it at the end of it all is a new way to approach learning. So it teaches you how to enjoy whatever you're doing while also being able to cope with the academic pressure that it demands. A lot of people look solely at the academic pressure and they say, oh, hell no, this isn't for me. But if you're able to straddle between the two things,
100%.
then you excel. You are a notch above the crowd.
Yeah, and I 100% don't agree with the kind of, I can't say that word on camera, but like the let's say scaredy cat. Okay, that's like politically. What's yeah, I don't want to be.
This podcast is politically motivated.
No, India's got Nitin, bro. Okay. So like yeah, these scaredy cats, right? Quote unquote. of like moving to A levels or other curriculums because IB is too hard. I feel like it's definitely not that way. It's definitely not like a JEE or something like that where it's like, bro, you gotta sell your soul to this, and and it's like stuff, something like the JEE at the end of the day is kind of talent, or just how much either talent or like the magnitude of hard work that you're able to put in. Yeah. I don't think IB is rigorous in that sense. Like you don't have to be like a crazy like.
You don't have to be a sweat.
You don't have to sweat it to do well, right?
I think what he's getting at is that you have to. It's only tough because you're trying to experiment with this new way of learning.
Like if you're
and teaching yourself how to learn like that is hard.
The first few months are always tough because you have to unlearn your previous ways of learning.
Yeah.
Everything isn't as linear anymore. It's stuff spread all across the table.
Yeah.
You have to manage an EE while writing your mocks. You have to manage school activities, your TOK commentaries while studying for your higher level subjects.
Yeah.
So it teaches you how to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, and I think
more than 1 second, but I think more than self-sufficient also, it teaches you what your priorities are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like I know for a fact that, okay, if I have to do my EE now, right? I'm going to push this. Like I genuinely will put less effort into doing French or something because it's fine if I get a 6 in the ST.
Absolutely.
I would rather get an I, right? And I feel like that priority-based approach is like, it's kind of scary because like, oh my God, I can't be perfect. But I think it's definitely like, even for this podcast, right? Like we've had to push things around, like stuff, like we're recording with like some iPhone 13 that's like half cracked. Yeah. So like, I think it does a great job of teaching you like jugaad basically, right? It's like a fancy foreign Gora version of jugaad, right? But yeah.
Yeah, and I think to an extent, like, it's only as deep as you make it, right?
Wow, it's enough philosophical. Like I know, life is what you make it.
Let's talk about outside school. Know what you did. Yeah, just like what you do, bro. What's the scenes, bro?
So, I had many scenes. One was personal wala scene. The other one was career wala scene.
Like outside a laptop or like inside a laptop only?
No, bro. Laptop, phone, TV, bro. Big screen also had one scene. I'm making a movie, no? So
Okay, let's start with personal wala scene.
Yeah.
How does
No, genuinely.
what did you do, bro? Like,
So, a lot of my application was centered around music. I've been.
That personal scene.
Oh, what?
okay,
You thought relationship. Anyway, so I started playing when I was like 7. So it was a very big part of my childhood.
can
and
you
all
play
that.
Save Me by Chief Keef?
Bro, I mean, I can play Love Sosa probably.
Oh damn, bro! You actually got culture.
Bro, I can
thought
play
only some Mozart and all.
Oh hell no, bro! The reason, okay, let me tell you this. A lot of
let me
people-
tell you this.
Yeah, let me tell
I'm
you this,
listening.
bro. So the reason why a lot of people do grade 8 or their diploma on piano is because they want to have that aura, like, yeah, bro, I'm a diplomat, you know, all of that. I stopped at grade 7, even though I had time to do grade 8, because I just hate classical music, bro. It's cheeks, bro. Like, you know me, I'm a metalhead. Like, I love jazz, I love gent, I love rock, all of that stuff. You give me any Kanye song, I'll listen to it for 3 seconds, I can play it. Dead ass. 3 seconds, 3 times. I can play like freaking flashing lights on piano. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, so that was like the personal angle of my application.
Is that what you wrote about though?
No. So my essays for Rice, are you talking about Common App or Rice?
No,
essay?
so like take like what was the most personal essay to you?
Okay, so that'll probably be my Common App. My Common App, like a lot of people follow the conventional path where they talk about one specific thing. But mine was kind of this blend of a lot of different aspects of my life. So it started off with synesthesia, which is basically this condition I have where I was able to see colors while playing notes.
You actually have that?
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah, so the essay was basically about complexity and how I appreciate the complexities around me and how that's made me a complex and like multifaceted character. So I started off with synesthesia and how when I heard my first jazz piece on the piano, my synesthesia enabled me to like appreciate that kind of complexity. And then I transitioned more into academic complexity, where I talked about like like matter wave duality and shit like that. I'd go to the planetarium every weekend for lectures, so I kind of roped that in too. But then the main chunk in my Common App was about this difficulty that I faced during an internship. So I was a student researcher at the Indian Institute of Science. So at the materials engineering department, we were basically working with thin films. We were trying to make solar panels more efficient. And my professor was a total asshole, bro. I think I could say that on camera because I'm never going to see him again. But he was like a total asshole. Bro, I still remember like waiting outside his office for like 30 minutes every single day. And mind you, I had to travel from here, Bellandur, to Malleshwaram, bro. It's the other corner of the city, bro. Yeah, so then I was just sitting there. And he comes to me and he's like, oh, which grade you in? And I said, I'm 17, sir.
He crashed out more about
Bro, yeah, bro, who cares? Stanford and all is fine. Bro, this fellow thinks he's some, bro, I'm sitting there and I'm telling you, I had like loads and loads of credentials to like back up the position that I had at IISc. I had been like a student at TKS for 2 years. Over there, as an honor society member, we had developed prototypes to treat like blood lymphoma and clean microplastics from ocean bodies and stuff like that. So with that level of knowledge about material science, I was walking into his department and I was there and I was like, oh yeah, I'm 17. And he says, oh, why are you here for a research internship? Why don't you just write in a high school kids magazine? You write about your experience traveling here, going and visiting all the labs and shadowing people. I'm like, at least first give me an opportunity to shadow, right? So a lot of complications like that. I basically wrote about how that shaped my view of how complexity presents its own challenges in life. So there were like 3 different segments like that. And then in the end of my Common App essay, I tied it back to piano and how through this internship, I learned how to take a very complex situation, deconstruct it in all of its different parts, and then bring it back together into a solution. So,
yeah, genuinely, bro.
Yeah, that's kind of the personal angle. And then the career-oriented angle was mainly just me like screwing around a bit for like 2 years. I remember in 9th grade, I wanted to do public policy. So I was like, we were Mun kids, right? You know the Mun scene.
Hey.
Right? Hey. Anyway, so at a point, we were all very interested in Muns. And at that point, you know, being a diplomat and doing international relations was cool. Then I became really interested in STEM. So the biggest turning point in my career was when I did Pioneer. Congrats on that, by the way. Yeah. So
I didn't go.
You're not going?
No. I didn't pay the fees in time.
Yeah. So over there, I wrote a thesis about the. Okay, this is going to sound like some proper corporate doublespeak, but let me break it down for you. The socio-scientific risks of global lithium-ion battery. Yeah, that's what I thought. Basically, bro, simple language. It is lithium-ion batteries low-key thoda cheeks, bro. Okay, so how you make them better? You can't. Okay, they're proper shit. Okay, they're dog water. Okay, so the entire paper was just taking lithium-ion batteries and just tearing it apart to the core. Okay, and I had like a few case studies from like 4 different countries. Yeah, so I think that was kind of the point in my academic journey where I realized there is an intersection between all of this economics, public policy related stuff and science. And then I met this dude at C-STEP. C-STEP is the Center for Science, Technology and Policy. It's in Yelahanka or something. And he said, no technology that you make, for example, suppose you're in a startup, no technology that you build there is ever going to be disruptive, scalable. You can't market it to a wide audience unless it serves some sort of value for consumers. So if you can't integrate it into consumer products, there's no point in doing all of the back-end research and shelling out.
You don't want to make a vitamin, you want to make a painkiller, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's no point shelling out so much money just to do vitamin research in that sense. So that kind of opened my eyes to the world of materials engineering because it's an industry where everything is very futuristic in the sense that whatever you build, it always has some practical application, but currently it's not viewed as like some very hotshot kind of industry because it's still growing, but it's projected to grow faster than AI. So I think that realization was something that got me into the area, and that's when I joined TKS. So all the stuff that I did at TKS, where I learned about like business-related techniques, how to actually run a startup, think like a CEO, all of those skills also manifested in my essays, especially my 3rd RICE essay, which basically had 2 optional prompts. One was about the residential college. The other one was how you're going to be an agent of change at RICE. So for that, I talked about how I mastered the art of business communications and analysis, how I could take products and pitch them in a very unconventional way. For example, we had this project where we used microfilms. We plated microfilms onto solar panels, and that reduced their scattering by a certain factor. And I opened our presentation, our recommendation deck, with a line about the inflating price of eggs. Now, who would have thought like those 2 things aren't even related, right? But it's the presentations that bring those 2 things together that actually create some user engagement. So all of these skills here and there kind of made their way into my essays, and yeah, that was the career-oriented aspect. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's do two parts, right? One, kind of college counseling. Do you feel like, what was your like kind of thing with that? Did you just go like solo run, or like did you get help from your school? Did you get like an external counselor, stuff like that with your essays? Two, was there any like, do you feel like there was scope for improvement in your essays, and like were you happy with them when they came out? And then actually, yeah, just answer those two, and we can go back a little bit after that and look at like maybe your
No,
extracurriculars
basically,
or something like that. Yeah.
what's your take on like college counseling? Like some people call it a scam, some people just
Yeah.
dislike it as a whole, as a concept. I think I'm one of those people, and I don't know.
Yeah,
about him, right?
I think there's definitely a lot of pay to win kind of structures in
I agree.
the US application process. What's your take on all of it basically?
So the situation was a little more nuanced for me because I had 3 different options for college counseling, and all of them had their own weighted benefits and cons. But one thing that I definitely say is, if you have many options, college counseling is not worth paying like $20,000 a year for. And some people here do charge that. I'm not going to name names, but honestly speaking, there is a certain level of authenticity in your essays that you get just by doing shit on your own. You should do it on your own. And I'm just keeping it real because, bro, honestly, this is the kind of stuff that people are afraid to say. Because everybody who's gotten into a top college and has abided by the norms would recommend taking the help of an external counselor, applying to colleges that have like very high tuition fees, and just
The entire like yeah,
the entire-
what's pushed to you, right? But
yeah, but again,
that's
that's
very
not the-
like journey versus destination like approach.
I wouldn't say that. It's more of that. That's not, a lot of people don't have that privilege of like being able to accommodate so many resources in their college application journey. But so for people who are entirely reliant on themselves, going solo is totally fine. It really depends on your priorities. What I did was, for the most part, I went solo. When it came to profile building, shortlisting colleges, everything that I had done until 12th grade was solo. And then for the last leg of the journey, I took the help of an external counselor just to tweak my essays and to kind of get that narrative going.
Okay, no.
We were talking about essays.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on like people making their essays extremely kind of flamboyant? Like, is an essay does a good essay have to be like what makes a good essay, do you think? Is it complexity like you were talking about, like, or having like a lot of layers that you're unpacking? Is it being super reflective of your experiences? Is it being I don't know, like trying to show like your skills, like being very analytical, something like that? What do you think makes a good essay?
I think a lot of it is prompt dependent.
Yeah.
So if you have, for example, UChicago has prompts that are extremely creative, right? Over there, you are required to completely think outside the box, use flamboyant language, and just construct sort of a magnum opus with your essay. But in other places, essays are meant to be more conversational. There are also places where you can bend the rules a bit. For example, my second Rice essay was about which elements of the Rice experience appeal to me. Very standard question, right? But I made it, like I formatted it as 2 other people living in Houston having a conversation about me in my 3rd year. So I'd already achieved a lot of things in Rice. I had completely like maxed out my potential there as a student. And these 2 people were talking about everything that I had done and what I was interested in doing in the future.
Yeah, I'm cooked.
So,
yeah, bro. What is this, bro?
No. I actually got this idea from one of my friends who's completely out of the left field when it comes to writing essays. He says, take any personal topic that you have for an essay, then take the most random text format that you can think of, club those 2 together.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So he wrote a love letter to UIUC. So,
That's crazy. Wait, is like your batch?
My batch, yeah.
Oh shit. Who is this?
Harihar.
Harihar.
Yeah.
Oh.
He wrote a love letter to UIUC. So that is a philosophy that like I really resonated with. It was very nice. But I never went too deep into it because I always wanted to stick to what I believed in when it came to essays. I think one thing that people are very afraid of doing is keeping it real. They don't want to sound like themselves. And that's actually very tragic because as much as it looks like UPenn and like Columbia and all of these colleges value good writing,
Or like some like image of yourself.
They do not like posers, bro. They do not like posers. Rice does not like posers either. And it's a very subtle thing. You can't get it at first glance. If you look at prestigious colleges, you'd say, oh, good writing is the way to go. But honestly, no matter how informal of an essay you write, no matter how conversational it is, as long as it comes from your authentic self, you have a higher potential to be able to tell a story about something. And they're not looking for literary geniuses, they're looking for storytellers.
Storytellers, yeah.
That's the primary difference between a good essay and a bad essay. An overly pretentious essay will have all of these very noticeable elements. Either it's like meanings behind words, connotations, sentence structure, the way you frame your paragraphs, metaphors, figurative language. All of that is good if that's the way you write, because then you can express yourself that way. But if that's not how you write and you try to pull it off, you're screwed.
Yeah, and I think I want to digress for a little bit.
Oh.
I love the point about we were just talking about
Yeah.
I love the point about storytelling, right? And so we've all been in that situation where you get pulled by your mom to go meet some random cousin who got into the Ivy League. Right?
Yeah.
This guy got into Johns Hopkins for physics. Bro, look, Rishikesh Madhuvairy got into
Rice, yeah.
materials and nanoscience.
Yeah, I don't even know what those words mean, bro.
Full STEM, you're failing physics in school. What are you doing with your life?
Bro, it wasn't that bad, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, still sevens, IB topper, bro.
But you don't seem like that cousin, right?
No.
Yeah.
And
Like you have a mullet, bro. Like that is already indicative of like bad
See, bro,
choices.
I'm beautiful in my mother's eyes, bro. That's all that matters. She told me that yesterday. She's like, ever since you went bald, you've been getting your looks back with your hair. Dara, she told me that last night, bro. So I'm just saying.
I think the story behind those people is what we don't talk about. We just talk about their academic achievement, right? So I want to zero in on your story, right? We talked a little bit about how you developed an interest, right? But that spark to actually do this thing that you're doing and the level that you want to take it to, that requires some genuine passion, right? This is a tough question, but where would you say that spark came from for you?
So I watched this movie called An Inconvenient Truth at the age of 12. It was a movie about the impending doom of climate change. And at that time, I barely gave a damn, you know. But I saw Vice President, at that time it was Vice President Al Gore, and he single-handedly ran this campaign to basically boost renewable energy generation in the United States. And for one man to have that potential to be able to influence an entire country, that's something that inspired me a lot at that age, because I was a very impressionable character. And over time, I always had that gut instinct to combine whatever I was interested in with being a leader. So that's why that startup angle, that engineering and business angle that came into being over time. But the main reason why I'm so passionate about the things that I'm passionate about is because I have this. So this is not going to come as a surprise to him, but I was almost diagnosed with autism as a kid.
I don't think it's surprised to him also at this point.
No, bro. Yeah. And that was thankfully a misdiagnosis. And over time, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I also grew up with a cousin on the spectrum. And I don't mean to get emotional, but he means the universe to me. And I grew up watching over him, and we've been through a lot of stuff together. So I always had that angle to my life, which was like, I need to give back to that community specifically. So when I watched that movie and I had this passion to make a dent in the universe, that same mindset kind of transferred to this area of my life too. And I basically manifested it by teaching 30 odd children who had spectrum disorders, ADHD, Asperger's, Down syndrome, all sorts of neurodivergencies. And a lot of them were nonverbal, they couldn't talk. And I taught them musical therapy for 2 months. And we had a choir after that in front of 600 parents. And that was the first time in their lives that they were able to talk, the nonverbal kids. And that was something that no therapist, no psychotherapist, no psychologist could have achieved with them in the past. And I don't come from a background I'm not a psychology student. All I had was the drive to give back to the autistic community. And I had some musical skills, which I incorporated into my therapy. And so this was kind of an example of how making a dent in the universe kind of translated on many different levels. One was that startup, building products kind of aspect of my life. And the other one was making different communities feel like they belong in my life. And a lot of people organize NGO fundraisers. They help a lot of underprivileged communities, which is great. But one thing that I noticed is that it doesn't come from somewhere very genuine. A lot of people do it for the sake of credentials.
I think, and the both of us have done a lot of introspecting in that sense, especially me. When I was starting out, I thought this process was just about checking boxes. I need to have one community service project.
Yeah, and I think that's a very big flaw in how the US admissions process is done. Like everybody hypes it up as it's so much better than JEE. It's like some was like, this is the way to do it. I think it is still very flawed in that aspect. And
I
I think B, it's also from the student perspective, right? Like, it can be authentic if you choose to make it authentic, and it probably reflects better, like overall in your application, I guess, if you're authentic.
Yeah. But actually, one thing I'd say is it's less of the admissions system and more of people's perspectives of it. In fact, like the US system by itself it is a very great system. In fact, I don't see many flaws in them except for...
So I'm just wrong, okay.
No, not wrong. One flaw that I see in the system is, I mean, I don't want to admit this on camera, but like you said earlier, it is pay to win.
Yeah.
People with, like all these universities say that they do meet need, but people with more money do.
Yeah.
Right? But when it comes to the perspective of checking boxes, that is something that has been created by kids who are applying to colleges, by counselors, by teachers. It is not something that has been declared by admissions officers. Nowhere have you seen admissions officers saying you need to have exactly
community
one
service,
community service.
yeah.
You need to have one internship. Internships, first of all, are entirely optional.
I think they're the biggest, and I think they're also 99% of the time the biggest scammy, like the biggest,
Internships.
Like, you're gonna tell me you're 16, you can't code with Scratch, and you're working on big baskets like AI technology.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, again, it varies from person to person, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is all again corporate doublespeak, right? A lot of people, it's like that LinkedIn example where you can say I worked at McDonald's or I handled financial transactions for a multi-billion-dollar company, right?
For sure.
But it's good to be able to talk like that. It brings you a lot of rewards in this kind of world where everything is about marketing yourself. But at the same time, if you're
It's
not,
phony.
it's phony. But if you're not going to be a human about it, if you're going to be completely fake and less human being, there's no point, right?
And it doesn't even constitute a part of your story. It's I think when people think about their story, they think about what shines the most, like what other people will perceive.
Shines the most, yeah.
What other people will perceive.
I don't know. I think we have kind of like a very radical viewpoint on this, in the sense that a lot of people who have good internships, they have good turnout from that. They got some stipend, some grant. They got some certificate from the CEO or the government officials and stuff. They would like to incorporate that into their essays. It is an achievement that they put a lot of hard work into.
Yeah.
I certainly put a lot of hard work into my internship, and I got a lot of good results out of it. But it wasn't something that I personally wrote in my essay because, like Arya said, it doesn't convey that aspect of my storytelling. It all comes down to being a good storyteller. I have a person in my grade, another person. His name is Anish Vivek, and he told me one day that no matter what you do for 4 years, the essay writing is make or break. And I couldn't agree more. It's definitely make or break. You need to be a good storyteller.